Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good. Today, we are so lucky to have our first Olympian, not only one of the best figure skaters in the world, but also a damn medalist. Since retiring professionally from figure skating, he has written a book. He has won Dancing with the Stars. You've seen him on RuPaul's Drag Race, Will and Grace, red carpets everywhere. And now you can hear his thoughts every week on the podcast, Intrusive Thoughts by Adam Rippon. Our guest today is Adam Rippon. Welcome to the show.
Ryan, thank you so much for having me.
I will say, I have followed your career, and I'm not the biggest sports guy ever, but...
Me either. So we're on the same page, my friend.
But, I got the email about your podcast, and I started listening, and it is a classic podcast in the sense of, I feel like this is my friend. I've been driving around Los Angeles, and I'm like, what is he going to talk about? And you have callers call in, you have voicemails, and it is a stream of consciousness about everything and anything.
Yeah, it truly is. It's basic. I mean, it is my intrusive thoughts.
It really is.
So anything that I'm thinking of or I have to just kind of get off my chest, because I do have to get things off of my chest. I talk about, we have people call in, I answer voicemails. And I like that I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
Because you're a very famous podcast host.
There's no such thing as a famous podcast host. It's and then I was going to what is harder, being training for the Olympics or actually doing a podcast?
I mean, to be real with you, I will say probably the Olympics.
Yeah, I would hope if you were even considering podcasting for 1 second as the hardest thing.
I wasn't. I'll be
fishing for a compliment.
It's not easy. Yeah, you kind of are. You kind of are like an Olympian in that sense. Yeah. No, it's definitely it can be challenging to do it on my own, but it's sometimes it can be hard to coordinate schedules with guests and everything. Yeah. And also I do have a problem of just having so much to say.
But I love that. I love that I start an episode and I don't know where you're going to go.
Me either.
And you spent, I was so excited because there was a new episode that just came out today. And you spent the first 30 minutes. What was the rant? Oh, it was unpacking luggage.
Yeah.
It was unpacking. You're going to be horrified is that I got back on a trip on Monday. The luggage is still on the
floor. As soon as you said you're going to be horrified, I was assuming it was absolutely my worst nightmare of the suitcase is still zipped. That's a no-go for me.
It's not zipped. It's unzipped, but nothing else has been done to it. I know. I'm a disgusting human being, Adam.
Yeah, I wanted to say that.
No,
I was gonna hold it.
Adam's in a hazmat suit if you're just listening to the audio right now.
N95. Okay. Yes, yeah, this goes.
Because you will unpack immediately, right?
I have to. I think it's my moral and legal obligation.
It's your moral obligation?
Yeah, I do believe that.
Where is it moralistically you
in the thing? Well, I think it's what's most morally corrupt? I think murder, number one, right? And then maybe 3 or 4 is keeping your suitcase packed after the trip.
It's 3 or 4 after murder's 1.
I have a friend, not to cut you off, but this is
so important.
It's so important. I have a friend who had a suitcase zipped up, packed up, and they had been on a beach vacation. It all sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Everything sounds good about this, except for the fact that when they eventually did open their suitcase, their clothes were a little dinged. And I say that quietly because you might know what's next. Mold.
Oh.
The things inside that suitcase had molded over.
Okay, I gotta go. Great podcast, you guys. I'm scared now.
That's Holland.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a good argument for 3 or 4 on that moral list.
Absolutely, yeah. No, you shouldn't be creating black mold. We should be fighting it. We should be fighting.
This is the new pandemic, black mold.
It's not new. It's sort of been ongoing.
Well, that's what I was saying is that you can take any topic and you expound on it to such a degree that I was cracking up in my car. And that's what I love about good podcasts is that I was just sitting there talking out loud. I was like, I do that. Oh, stop it, Adam. Stop it. And you had a caller in the episode before where we were talking on the way up where she wanted your thoughts on straight men and linen pants.
Yes.
And what were your thoughts on straight men and linen pants?
Well, I've said it once. I'll say it again. I think that, it can be disarming when you see a man in linen pants. But I do think that we need to recognize that they might be our last allies.
Yes, that you came out in favor of straight. We don't hear a lot of people pro straight men these days. Happy Pride, by the way.
Yeah.
And I thought,
feel it. Thank you.
I thought it was very brave of you to come out in favor of straight men in linen.
Listen, to be a leader, you have to sometimes say brave, very brave things in a time when it can feel scary to kind of come out in favor of men to do that.
This is the biggest issue out there right now.
It's one of them.
It's huge in Los Angeles,
especially. It's one of them.
So obviously everybody kind of fell in love with you at first in your Olympic journey, which I was also listening to this great story on the podcast about when you injured yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like I kind of get a sense of who you are as a person. And if I ever played a sport and got injured, it would be like, that's it, I'm done.
What sport do you think it would be?
That I would play?
Yes.
Probably like racquetball, like something just, I have no balance or stability. I can't ice skate. I have a bad knee. But you hurt yourself, and it seems like you took that as a challenge to see how fast you can recover and how good you can get. Where does that come from?
I think it's come from kind of facing disappointments head on. So this story of like when I got injured, it was the third time I was trying to make the Olympic team. And it was a year before they would announce that team. So I had already not made the Olympic team twice before. And
so you're used to that feeling.
Well, it wasn't even I was used to it. I knew that I would survive it. Because the first time I was really young. And the second time felt like this was the time that it had to happen. I was 24, which is like, that's crazy to think like I'm going to be over the hill. But when I was
like
20,
a past member of Love Island USA.
Exactly. It's time to see, the med spa and fill her up. That's
we'll get there.
We'll get there. Believe me, I have so many things to share about Love Island. But so at 28, when I finally did make that Olympic team, I had teammates that were 17 and 18. So it's a young sport. So I had already survived the like disappointment and the heartbreak of like a dream not coming true. Yeah. So what was the worst that was going to happen? It just wouldn't come true again. I still had all the same friends. I still like felt good about what I was doing. So I think that it was in the disappointment and sort of that rock bottom, I had nothing to lose. So what? I didn't make it again. It wasn't because I didn't try hard enough. So I was like, I'll just give it a go. And I think it was that mentality that helped me to eventually make that Olympic team and win a medal with my yeah.
I mean, you obviously have intrusive thoughts, as the podcast says, but it seems like, do you have primarily a positive mindset?
I'm always, and I think that sometimes it can, it can rub my friends the wrong way a little bit, because anytime we'll get into a situation, it's just my natural reaction to see like the positive.
Yeah.
And anything, because I always think, even if it's like, oh, terrible, something's like awful going on, relatively right? Yeah. I'm talking like mold in the suitcase, right?
Yes.
That I'll just always think to myself, like, okay, I know that I can at least make this a funny story when you come back. So it's for the bit.
It's for the bit, killing it for the bit. I mean, your career is, storied, and it seems like it's studied by other people as well. But I always find it interesting with Olympians. There's only a handful that actually become kind of known outside of the circles. Huge in Olympics, but then you kind of surpass that and you become a public figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I find like, what do you...
For better or worse,
for better, but like, it is kind of interesting of the people that actually make it past the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think it is about you that people have responded to that they keep wanting to see you or listen to you or follow you?
Well, I think one, I don't stop talking. So it's hard to stop listening to someone who doesn't sort of ever shut up. And two, I think that like an entertainment career is not for every athlete. And every athlete doesn't want to go into
That's
show
what I was wondering.
business.
When you're a kid and you're training to be an Olympic, are you like, well, and one day that'll be over and then I'll be in entertainment?
Well, it was never like that. I always loved entertaining people, and I loved performing in front of people, and figure skating is very famously like an entertainment sport.
Yeah.
Right? Like you need to put on a good show. And when I was at the Olympics and I started doing all of these interviews and a ton of like media appearances, I had this like epiphany where I was like, oh my God, this is what I've meant to do my entire life.
It felt natural.
Yes. And it felt like, oh, wow, like I've been using skating as this outlet to perform and be in front of people. But now being in like front of the camera and talking and getting to make people laugh and share stories, like that is what felt like it was what I was meant to be doing.
And I think people responded to that. Oh, like, because you watch a lot of these Olympians give interviews and they're not used to that aspect of it. And they don't seem like they're having a good time. And I would imagine the amount of stress that all of you are put under, you work your whole lives for this. I don't know what it's got to be like in those moments. I was like watching Simone Biles at the last one, and I was having a panic attack, and I don't know how she got through that experience. So,
I mean, it was, so I, since retiring, I've started working with NBC to cover the Olympics. Yeah. And so for the Paris Games, I was working in Stamford, Connecticut, where NBC has their headquarters. So I was I was in Paris, but I was in Connecticut. And don't tell anybody.
Wait, is that supposed to be secret? Like,
no.
They don't know that, like, we're not in Connecticut.
No. So actually, the pandemic really was the catalyst to saving NBC basically like millions of dollars, because in Stamford, they have like 8 beautiful, huge fully studios. Set up studios, which saves them millions of dollars, because in Paris, that would cost, an arm and a leg. And so they've decided to like only essential members of the team, like your commentators and your main researchers and producers, like they'll go to venue. So I was in Connecticut and in the gymnastics truck when they were like producing everything, like the whole live show. And I was in Tokyo watching the Olympics in person. So if you like ever watch any footage and you see like a random green polo going like, good job, like that's me. No family, empty, just me, like, good job, you guys. It's just truly me. And so I remembered that like when Simone had to pull out in Tokyo. Yeah. And so what we could see in the truck is that like right before the team event was starting, she like twisted her ankle on something. And I was like, oh my, I cannot imagine what's going through her head right now, that like she's so fully mentally prepared and so physically ready. And it's just in sports, like anything can happen. Yeah. But that she like had this minor injury as soon as the event started. And then she just like put it to the side and focused and got her job. Like that is...
It's magical.
You're right.
But that's also why we watch is like stories, or even hearing like your story on the podcast about, hurting yourself and like, putting, like, to me, that's the stuff that I carry with me of like, okay, the next time I do something really bad, I'm going to be like, okay, Adam says, just like how far I'm going to blame you on it.
Please.
But I think that's what we really, really respond to. Before we get off figure skating in the Olympics, you are one of 6 kids, right?
I am.
And you had a single mother.
Yes.
How do you get involved in ice skating with that many kids? Because you're the oldest, right?
I am the oldest.
How does that even happen? Because I would imagine your mom is so frazzled raising all of the kids. How do you have the time, or how does she even have the time to drag you around? Because this takes so much practice.
Well, when I was young, so I'm from the East Coast. I live out on the West Coast now. I've lived here for like 13, almost like 15 years. The 13, 14, 15. I'll get there, right? I'm rounding up. But I've lived out here for a really long time. I originally moved out here for skating to train.
Yeah.
But I'm from the East Coast, so the winters are cold. And where I'm from Scranton, Pennsylvania. They freeze over like the minor league baseball team that's there. We have the Little Yankees. It used to be the Red Barons. They freeze over that stadium, and you go skating. And I really took to it eventually. I always had these visions that I would look exactly like, Brian Boitano or Oksana Bayul. And I'd be like, I'm a Ukrainian orphan and I'm going to do this. And it would always go terribly. And then, I don't know, it was just like one year I was a little older. I enjoyed it. I kept asking to go back. And so my mom brought me to like a local rink that was just built in Pittston, Pennsylvania. Very famous. I'm sure this means a lot to a lot of people.
No, I think they're geeking out.
So in Pittston, and I started there, and then eventually, like, I started competing a little bit, which brought me to Philadelphia, and I started working with a coach there. But like you said, I'm one of 6. I'm the oldest, and so there was a certain point where it was like, okay, if I really wanted to do this, My mom wasn't going to be able to drive me there. I'd have to find a way to get myself there. Obviously, my mom helped me along the way. I'm not like 13 years old, like, okay, let's figure this out.
You're out on your own now, kid.
On a map. Yeah, it's the 90s.
Get to Philly.
Yeah. So, my mom was like, she really trusted me as like a young kid, but I truly was giving her no other option. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. Yeah. So like Monday morning, I go to the Greyhound bus station in Scranton, get on the bus. I'd listen to 98.5 KRZ, Rocky and Sue in the morning on my little Walkman. And I'd listen to it until the signal would go out, which would be like halfway through to Philadelphia. And then I'd be in Philadelphia at the Greyhound station in Philly. I'd meet up with my coach, and then I would stay with them for the week. And then, Friday afternoon, back at the Greyhound station in Philly, back to Scranton.
But as a kid, do you even realize, like, I'm getting good at this? Like, I'm as a kid's mentality, I barely know how to wipe myself. Like, did you know? Sorry to gross you. Like,
no.
But do you?
I'm like, that's important to know.
But do you know? You're like, I'm getting good at this, or I'm working towards something. Like, what is your thought process as a kid going through this? Because most kids are, they're not conditioned to be able to take direction, and they don't usually have a lot of goals except for whatever that day presents.
I think like even as a young kid, I knew that this was something that I loved to do. And I just I was always the smallest person on like every sports team that I was on. I liked sports, but I didn't have a lot of friends at them. And skating was the first time I ever felt like I belonged there. And like being at the rink felt cool. And I loved doing it. Was like my first individual sport that I had ever done. And I liked that, being able to like rely on myself. And I loved it, and I loved improving, and I would do anything to like get my mom to get me to the rink. Like I remember one time when I was young, the only time I would be able to skate would be before school, which would be like, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And my mom is like, I have to get everybody ready for school or whatever. So I came up with the pretty genius idea for someone who's 11 or 12 years old to wake up all of my siblings at 3:30 in the morning. And I tell them they're late. You're late for school. First of all, it's pitch black out and they're panicking. And I would like make sure that I had my brothers in the shower. I'd make sure that my sister, I was brushing their hair. And then all of a sudden it's 4 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, I'm just kidding. And their lunches are made. I checked all their homework, and I wake my mom up, and I'm like, everybody's ready for school. They're all dressed.
And she's like, Adam, you did it again.
Yeah. So she was like, I would go out of my way to make sure that there was no reason why. I mean, it was something I loved to do. I was so passionate about it that my mom just like helped facilitate the dream. Yeah.
I mean, that's incredible. I mean, really, if you love something, you're going to find everything in your power to be able to do that thing. The other thing I found interesting, you did your own glam, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm a self-glam guy.
You're a self-glam, which, by the way, you don't even watch Real Housewives at all, which I think you would really appreciate because the glam looks, they always have a glam squad, but you were your own glam squad.
Yes, that's true. I mean, all the Olympians are their own glam squad.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, and I know real glam when I see it. So I, maybe a year or two ago did Stars on Mars, and I did it
by the way, you guys, he did Stars on Mars. I don't know if he was a 1-season wonder on Fox, and it was right after Scandival, and Tom Schwartz was on this. We used to joke about it on the show because he'd be like, had a really rough year, and they were simulating life on Mars.
Yeah.
And you were one of the contestants, and Portia was on it as well.
Yes. And so I was like, this is a absolute, because I mean, usually with these reality shows, it's like a mix of like reality stars and athletes. Yeah. And it's always like, that's always the mix, right? And I definitely, like, when I go into these situations, always align with like the reality stars.
Why do you think that is?
I think because with the athletes, like when they're in their world, they're the biggest celebrities in their space. Like things get done for them.
Yeah.
Like they go, okay, where's the water? Where's this? And when you had somebody like Tom and Portia on the show, it was like, they know like, hey, you're going to have to sit here for 3 hours while we set up these cameras.
And they're fine with it.
And it's just, I mean, it's the name of the game.
Yeah.
And I think some of the like athletes, like they'll crack under that.
That's so athletes are pussies. That's what you're basically saying.
Well, it's just, I mean, like, listen, some of them just they're too rich to be put in these poor man situations.
And it's a weird situation because we're simulating life on Mars. I mean, it was a really kind of ridiculous show that I watched every episode, but it was just because of the scandal of it all, which you would not like. you're like, I don't watch that, unfortunately.
I
You
know
haven't dived into
what
it yet.
goes on. Like, I obviously, I have like my hand in the mix of like what's happening, my pulse, my hand on the pulse, my hand in the mix. Good night. Let's call it. I've had my hand on the pulse of like what's going on. So I obviously knew everything about Scandival. And so when Tom Schwartz walked in, I was like, oh, wow, he's trying to escape Earth.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, it was like a man going through something.
Yes.
And I thought that was what was like, I would like actually look for his scenes because it would just be revelatory in the aftermath of this huge seismic event, which in retrospect is insane.
It's insane how big Scandival was. I mean, it like fell into the cracks of every sort of whatever.
I think it was just like not right time, right place, but it was just that moment of you watch a show for so many seasons, not for Tom, but you watch the show so many seasons and you believe in a character, and then everything kind of the wool is like, oh, this was happening this whole time that we watched this season.
I mean, that's wild, right? Like that's so crazy.
And it got everybody into the show. It's kind of like Love Island USA in a way where I don't, did you ever watch Love Island UK or just you're in it?
I'm a Love Island.
You're Ekin-Su Davide.
Oh my God. I love Ekin-Su.
Isn't she great?
Yeah, she's phenomenal.
That was the season.
She'll make a mountain out of truly a molehill.
And you believe it.
Yeah,
like,
I believe it.
I
when she's absolutely
and Davide
correct.
would be like, actress, you're actress. Come on. Like,
yes.
And I was trying to explain the differences to people between UK and USA. And do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I do feel that they really kind of choose the casting just straight up to like Essex and like random farms in the UK. Like that is it. Like it's just those. And so like the first Love Island I ever watched, and it's so different from like watching Love Island USA. Actually, wait, I want to put a button on the glam.
Yeah.
So when I did Stars on Mars, Intrusive Thoughts.
Yeah.
It happens.
Exactly, yeah.
So I know the glam because this is when I was like, Portia is a motherfucking professional. Because it was like she'd get up early and she'd open up her little like makeup case and she'd do full fucking glam. Herself. And she looked absolutely stunning at every single minute and hour of the day.
Because on Atlanta, she has a glam team. So she was San's glam team and she still knew how to do it.
She absolutely knew how to. I mean, she had different wigs with her and she like did her hair and like, she was fully prepared to be beautiful at any moment of the day. And she was.
Well, how much then did you put into that when you're skating? How big of a part of the overall performance was your look?
So you want to look your best, right?
Yeah.
So you want to look your best, but like when you're performing, and it's still at the end of the day, it's like an athletic thing. So like you don't want anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. That's like not going to make you perform your best. So I mean, my glam was at the time going to the tanning booth. So I'd be going to the tanning booth, so I wouldn't have to put any makeup on because you just don't want to look sick. And do a good old Brazilian blowout with some formaldehyde a few days before. Now I'm all natural.
Perfect.
I'm back.
You're back to normal. Okay, back to Love Island.
Yes, please.
USA, UK, straight out of Essex and random farms. Is that where they're casting? And everybody has the turkey teeth at this point.
It's truly
and it's coming over
insane.
to the U.S. a little bit. Like I'm noticing turkey teeth a lot more. And by the way, I don't mean turkey teeth as in it's like people will go to Turkey because it's cheaper to get the fake big white teeth there.
Yes, which in Turkey they have other colors there. Well, that's tooth.
I was just like, do they just have one?
No, they go there and they go that one. They pick and it's the same. And they're like, that's the Toto toilet, sir. Like that. They have a big old porcelain Toto toilet in their mouth.
Well, if they're talking, it feels like a strobe effect, and I feel like I'm going to have a seizure.
Sometimes they're too big, and also the swollen gums, like they're fresh. Like the body has not settled into the porcelain. So what I was getting to was my first Love Island experience, and I was saying this is so different from like the Casa Amor now, is my first Love Island was Farmer Will and Jess.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yes.
So I remember, because I had never seen Love Island before, that I started watching it with my husband. I was going away on a trip, and I was like, you keep watching because I'll keep watching while I'm away. So we started watching, and he called me like a few times in a row. I hadn't picked up. I said, what is going on? So Will, on this season of Love Island UK, was having a really hard time like finding somebody to like couple up with.
Yeah.
even though he had his Grafton boots on and everything. Didn't matter. But then Jessie?
Yeah, I think Jess
walks in and she's all about Will. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, this is amazing. Like they're going to couple up. A few episodes later, they go to Casa Amor, right? And my husband calls me. He's like, there's this thing called Casa Amor. I stopped everything I was doing. I said, tell me all about it. And he goes, and Will fucked up. And I remember when Will, like...
It's designed, though, to make the men fuck up.
Yes, and that's why it's like, it's crazy
and that's
that
why
we
it's
didn't...
bad on USA.
Yes.
Because nobody has strong enough connections for Casa Amor to really mean anything.
But they do. They just don't want to... I think they don't want to get in trouble when they go to Casa Amor. So they all like kind of like pussyfoot around like... we're still open, right? Like, I think that they, like, Sierra and Nick had a strong enough connection.
I can never tell what Nick's thing. I mean, I think Nick has a very, I appreciate he has a weird sense of humor, but I don't know what this dude is thinking half the time. And Sierra obviously was back in her area, like, I miss him. And the girls obviously seem like they really miss the dudes. The dudes, I can't really make heads or tails, but it's been different. Love Island UK and Love Island USA even last season was much different when they went to Casa Amor, and then I was trying to explain to the audience. Then you have movie night when everybody gets back together where the men are busted out and all of these scenes are shown, and I don't feel like we have anything to show on movie night at this point because it's just a very different game this season, I feel.
It's totally a game. I mean, well, one, Napoleon Bonaparte, aka Ace, who's like ruling the
what are your
roost.
thoughts? You really think Ace is the puppet master?
My hot take is I kind of like Ace. I think he's funny. Because my favorite thing is like there's a new girl. I already know like what he's going to do. He's going to bring them up to some private area. He's going to sit about 4 feet away from them. He's going to kick his feet up on the thing. Feet crossed, arms crossed, look forward, and kind of like side smirk to them the whole time. I know it. I know he's locked in.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that he has like really strong opinions that can sway the opinions of some of the other Islanders.
Well, some of the Islanders coming out on their exit interviews and saying that he really was, like the guys really did listen to Ace. That is correct assumption.
Yeah.
But also, the tattoo work this season on all of the men.
The Taylor tattoo is crazy.
The Pepe with the Heath leather Joker on his...
Oh, I haven't even noticed that. Sorry, I can't. Ape will not fight other ape. I'm like, that is like, I'm like, eyes like immediately.
Taylor and Alandria, I do not sense any sparks at all. It seems like Taylor is Alandria's like best friend. But Alandria's like, no, that's my boo. And now she's supposedly off the show.
Yeah.
But I saw no sparks. Did you believe in that relationship in any way?
Okay.
No, just say it.
I kind of did because, okay, hear me out.
No.
Well, because I think that like Alandria is she's like cut and fucking dry. And I think it's disarming because when you see her, you're like, that's the nicest body I've ever seen
Gorgeous.
On a human being. Not to mention the face. She's also so beautiful.
She's nice and she's smart
and she's funny and she's thoughtful. And so I think when you look at her, you're like, she's gonna act a little bit more like Shelley.
Yeah,
because Shelley's so like outgoing, but I think that Alandria is a little bit more introverted. So I mean, I think that like there was, and why I feel like the connection with Taylor was more genuine than I think other people feel is because when Jalen, the bombshell, walked in, I mean, I thought it's over.
Me too. And then the conversations they were having
felt
to me
good.
Seemed better than the conversations we were seeing with her and Taylor.
Yes. I completely agree. And I was like, this is like, Taylor, pack up your suitcase.
I 100%
put on the cowboy
that.
hat. Let's just check Expedia, see what the flights are. Because I was
that
like,
would be great if they have to book their own flights home. Like we'll get you here, but you have to find your way back.
Could
from
you
Fiji.
imagine?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great leaving the island.
Yeah. Can I just hang for a couple more days?
Yeah.
I won't make any noise. Yeah.
So, I mean, I did feel that the connection, I mean, I think it's just like not what we want to see. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's what I keep thinking about is that this is how I spend my time thinking about literally like, what do you think we want to see? Because that's the other question is, people are like, well, they're just playing it more as a game instead of actually the goal is to find love, and it's not to make it to the end. It's to find actual human connection. But then you kind of go down that path and you're like, they've only been there 3 weeks. Is it really true to find like a lifelong connection? Even though some of the people in season 6 are still together.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I think like when you're in these like reality situations, you can feel that the cameras are on you all the time. Like you're so in it, and you go to bed with these people and you wake up with them. Like
you don't know the time. You don't have your phone. You don't, yeah.
1 week feels like 2 months.
Yeah.
And you just get so close with these people because like you just share every waking moment with them. And so I think it really does like expedite the process.
Yeah.
But somebody like Alandria is like, she's like, I wouldn't move this fast. I love when they say the outside world, like they're in like the Truman Show.
Well, there's a certain verbiage that goes with any Love Island, which, by the way, the only one that they don't use on USA is grafting, which you said earlier.
Yeah, which is so important to the lexicon.
It really
How
is,
do you not?
Because they do early days, like it's still early days, and they'll do the, can I pull you for a chat?
They started doing banter. I've heard banter
and
a
I was
bit
like,
more.
did they teach them like the verbiage before they go in? Because I'm like, these people don't know certain words that they're using.
I mean, if you've ever watched Love Island, it's like you know, it's ingrained in you.
Yeah.
What are you? You have to graft today. You know that, which I didn't know what that meant at first. So it's like, you have to. It's like baptism by fire.
I have a shirt now that says "graft on" because I got so obsessed with Love Island a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so if I were to say "mommy," what would you say?
Mamacita.
Yeah,
right.
I'm a mom. So we're talking about Hutta and Jeremiah, but that was between Hutta and Nick. What are your thoughts about Hutta? Because in one hand, she is the most memeable, most talked about character coming out of this season. I mean, as of last week, it might be changing a little bit, but what have you thought about her quote unquote performance this season?
Okay, I have a few things. My first
and
thing,
we're supposed to not bully. They keep warning us on the show not to bully people.
Truly, yes. So I'm going to say that, and this is what I truly believe, has bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
And I think that like if she were to just find like a medication, she'd be able to handle this a little bit better. Because I can just see her like
go up.
Highs of highs, lows of lows, which is like, that's what I think.
Those shots of her tight face and she would just look miserable with her like eyelashes weighing her eyes down, where I was like, I've been there, but my God, it was wild.
Now,
yeah,
I've never seen anyone move the island in the way that she did. It was I mean, she needs to be in charge of the U.S. military. I've never seen the island move like that. Have you? I've never seen it in my life.
It would be great if they pull Hutta out because they need her with the military. Hutta, your country needs you right now.
Yeah, Hegseth out. Like, he needs to go for so many reasons.
Hutta giving the White House press
they put her right. I've never
Caroline
seen.
Levitt introduces Hutta. Yeah,
I've never seen people move like the boys went one way. All
fear.
The girls.
It's
doesn't
out of fear.
matter. As I'm an athlete, I had people yell at me and call me fat every day for 20
people
years.
Called you fat
every day.
Oh my God!
And she had people moving, hustling.
Oh, fully in fear.
I've never seen a reality show contestants move like that. I don't think we've seen something like this since like Flavor of Love, Tiffany Pollard.
Now you're speaking my language. That is really a great comparison. Like Tiffany Pollard was so magnetic on that first season that it gave her a career in reality TV for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she's the best of the best when it comes to reality.
Well, you already think about it. Like, then I was like, oh, Hutta, will she be on Traitors next season? Will she, because there's a bunch of shows that, filter out into, from this show will filter out into other shows. And I was like, is Hutta too much of a liability at this point? Or will she, because you don't want to see her on like Bad Girls Club or something like that.
No, but you know what? I think at first when like they had those doors that they needed to open and I was like, get her home.
Yeah.
Just like get her home, get her out of there. But now that she's in Casa and they're showing her in a different...
watch her flirt with other guys.
Well, who's the guy that DJ?
Oh, the new guy.
Yes, I can't remember.
That was into Justin Timberlake. TJ or JT or
no, he's from the island. She's like now kind of coupled up with this like guy in Casa Amor.
Yeah, I don't know their names
JD?
yet. Yeah, I think it's something in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
She just was like her foot was off the gas.
Yeah.
And she was just having like, I mean, he asked one question and then all of a sudden they play like the song of like in the arms. It's like, okay, wait, give her a second. Like let her cook. Like let her go. But yeah, I've never seen anyone on because listen, reality, there are no like people know they're being watched. They know clips will go online, even if you're not there for that. Like you know, and you know, hey, if I have a big personality, I'm like a fit for the show.
And that season was so big last season that even if they weren't aware of Love Island before, those kids aware of it now because a lot of them already have such strong social media followings going into the villa.
Yes.
And I think kids nowadays are so used to talking to the camera, having their own camera phone on them that you wonder how performative everything is and if we truly could have a reality show nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, it was like Jersey Shore. It was like we haven't seen
that first season of Jersey Shore when I was like, I have not seen this before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was like unfettered craziness.
Well, so we're talking on Thursday, and tonight, we had a day off on Wednesday night because they give you a day off. They're very kind.
The Sabbath.
Tuesday.
Wednesday on Love Island, yeah.
Tuesday night ended with this cliffhanger where Nick and Alandria get sent home in this, they're changing it up this season. And then we have this weird addendum to the episode where Alandria pulls up in a car and it's like, Nick, come on.
And he takes that empty suitcase and throws it right in the back of that car.
Every time they have a suitcase, it is never full of anything. You would tell it is the lightest suitcase ever.
Oh, because the wheels are like, it's like, whoa, boom, boom, boom. Like, it's like almost floating away from them.
It's like actors when they're drinking a cup of coffee in a film and then you can tell there's no coffee in it.
And then they're like,
huh?
And they accidentally like hold the cup upside down. Yeah, I mean.
What do you think is going to happen?
I think that they're going to put them somewhere like outside of the villa and they're going to be able to see everything that's happening and then they like drop them in or something like that.
Yeah, I keep thinking like, are they just, because then I was like, is Jeremiah going to be a part of this or is it just those two? And what really, if we do not have the strong, I mean, I guess Nick has a pseudo strong relationship and Alandria believes she really likes Taylor. But I don't know if Taylor or what's her name is going to do anything for them to watch to be upset at, if that makes sense.
Well, because they all said I'm open, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Which is like truly when you say you're like closed off in Love Island, you might as well say like anything I do outside of this is why like when I was watching Will and Jess, it was like he had murdered a man.
Yeah.
It was
feel
like
it. But see, that's what you want is like
the stakes.
The connection is so deep that you get upset when they fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, there is nobody in there that could hook up with somebody else that I'd be like, no, why did you do that? There's none.
Exactly. When Will on this, I keep going back to it because it's like, it's my like rebirth.
Your touchstone, yeah.
Oh my God. My husband turned to me and he said, I will never forgive Will.
I will never.
He knew Jess for 3 days.
But that's what, like, it really does inspire such impassioned viewing and, like, the parasocial nature where you got to go out and tweet about it. You got to go make a meme. You got to talk. Like, I mean, I will talk about it at length. And that's really impressive. And this USA, this is the biggest season they've ever had, building off of last season, which was huge. So it already started huge. And then as of last week, it kept getting bigger each episode. So it'll be interesting to see if it dips out and dies out at this point. No, truly.
It was Huda.
We were all talking about it so much. People were tuning in.
Yes, because she made her problem everyone in America's problem.
It made me want to see how she lives her actual life.
Yes.
Like, I want, like, maybe like a Huda spinoff. Just,
I mean,
keeping it Huda.
This is what I mean. Like, you saw, people were afraid she was going to.
Oh, I made a couple memes. I was afraid for myself, and she's over in Fiji. Like, I was like,
and you should be afraid.
I was like, I'm going to take him down before she gets out. But did you watched the last Love Island USA, right?
Yes. I tapped out kind of in the middle, but I know like the main.
Well, so they are getting a spinoff called Beyond the Villa.
I will be watching.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. And it is interesting. I know you didn't watch Vanderpump Rules, but I think it is smart to take, these popular characters. They're all in LA or put them in LA and see what happens. I think that's a really smart move.
I think so too. I mean, I like really want to see Orlandria and Shelley do something together. I would watch them go to the mall.
Yeah.
Come on. I would watch them do anything together.
The guys are always doofuses, which I think is very like a mirror of actual life. But the girls, you have these kind of actual interesting conversations and they feel things so much deeper, and you appreciate those it's like fried green tomatoes. You appreciate those relationships way more than the men who are like, we made the girls breakfast today.
But you know what's funny? It's that I think that almost all of these guys go into this having never ever talked about like their emotions or how they feel about anything. And so you see them like crack as the show goes on, of like when Nick left, like they were sobbing, crying. And I think it's like the girls are used to talking with their friends about how they're feeling and getting advice from their friends that like the boys never were. But the producers are like, talk about your date, talk about your connections. And it's the first time
to talk feeling.
Well, I mean, but some of them are good. Like, I think why I like Ace is that like he speaks his opinion, whether or not like whatever.
You agree with it, yeah?
Yeah, I agree with it. Yes, I do think that but he rewrote the rules for sure, because it was like in Love Island, you know that you're supposed to like find a connection and like be with that person. You want that solid connection. And Ace rewrote the rules. It was
exactly.
Like,
you got to be open. You got to explore all the connections.
If you're not doing it right. If you're not, and I'm like, okay,
Jeremiah was about to lose it. He was like, "You're telling me one thing, Dad."
He had already lost his mind before he got there. You can't lose what you don't have. But when Ace is in there, he's rewriting the rules. I'm like, well, if I was on the island and there was some 22-year-old kid telling me how I was supposed to play the game, I'd lose my mind. I'd jump into the water. You'd never see me again. It would be the end of me. But, you know, and then you have somebody like Austin, who sometimes when I see him walk in there, I'm like, somebody took a frying pan right before he came in and went whack.
I don't like being a part of a love triangle.
But I know, but they all warm up to I am the weakest link.
You do actually, and that's why even like the new bombshells, when they come in, you're not as into it as the OGs because you've spent time with them.
Exactly.
Like, you've spent even time making fun of them, so you have an allegiance to the OGs.
You would even say we make fun with them.
Make fun with them. Well,
right?
Yeah, sometimes. Well, I've grown an appreciation for Amaya Papaya.
Yeah, because she came on, okay. Of my opinion of Amaya is that when she came in really hot.
Yeah.
And I thought it was crazy the way that Ace chose to couple up with her when it was like he obviously wanted to. I think
he told her immediately he didn't like her. Yeah.
That was an insane, diabolical like move. I don't know what he was thinking.
Well, yeah, but isn't that just honesty?
But why did he couple
up with her? Yeah.
He was obviously like feeling Shelley, and I think that he was trying to like not play it. He's trying to play it cool.
He's like, I'll eventually get there with Shelley, but let me extend.
Because I think that you could see that like Shelley was really trying to figure it out with like Austin, kind of. But she also knew that they found their way to each other. But the way that like it started off with Amaya was crazy, and then the more that I got to see her single in the villa is when I really warmed up to her.
Her best work is by herself.
I mean, because she's the way that like that conversation she had with Charlie, where she was like so emotional about not wanting to betray Hannah and have a conversation. It was like,
she's like, that is my girl. That is my day one. And I can't do. And Charlie's like, oh, sorry. I was trying to like stay here. And then she votes Charlie off. And then like heard the tears for that whole episode from Amaya in particular. I thought I was at a funeral. I was like, oh my God, this is the most intense thing I've ever watched.
And that we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that.
That is
well. Then it's
beautiful.
Like you think of Love Island as like the Saw franchise, the horror movies. I'm like, do you want to play a game?
Oh, it's like
Love
they told
Island.
her that they needed to murder one of them, like shoot them cold.
I've seen that reaction in a horror film before.
Yeah, it was that. That was insane, and I think that was like I hadn't totally warmed up to her, but like the way that I see her talk with like the other girls. And when I see her on her own, I've completely warmed up,
like,
and I love her.
I never said I was perfect.
It's beautiful. But when she's flirting, I'm like, ooh,
it's a lot,
girl.
It's a lot.
Relax, because she's in there, and she's like,
she's in it.
Would you like to kiss right now?
And I love that. Is it the Asian dude who's like, okay, let's.
Is that Kay?
Yeah, you think we have big teeth.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So Love Island USA, you love. I think we have a couple more weeks left, and then we'll get our hour a night back.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms
I don't
of
need it back.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I know it is kind of a nice diversion, but maybe we should paying attention to actually more real life stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
In terms of reality, would you do the Traitors?
I would do the Traitors.
And have you been offered it already? Because I thought you might have.
I think that I have.
Yeah.
I mean, because I wasn't watching anything, and I think that I have, but like when in one of the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
And I heard the name Traitors and was like, I don't want to traitor. I don't know what do you mean? I don't lie.
Do you watch it now?
Yes.
I think you would be great on it.
I mean, I loved watching the last season. I thought that I loved Gabby. I'm friends with Wes, so I really wanted to watch like what Wes would do.
Were you a challenge guy?
No, we did like a Worst Cooks in America together.
I love the circuit that all of you guys go on, where it's like Dancing with the Stars, Worst Chefs, like, the Mars one. It's interesting. Like, you guys are all competing against each other. It's like a different form of Olympics.
Yeah, completely. But I love Wes. He definitely like plays
He's really
a character.
fun.
He's so fun.
Yeah,
and
I got to
so
talk
good.
to him once, and I was like, "Oh, you're way different than you portray." I mean, like it's great. It's a bit.
No, he's so good, and I think that he just was like he was too smart on
Traitors.
Yeah, he was too smart.
You need to be a little dumb to go far in the game of Traitors.
Well, like Carolyn was like so good until she wasn't.
Well, I was really upset with Danielle. I thought Danielle was making crazy moves. And then Dolores, who comes from the Housewives world, she was like wrong every week. And it was one of the winners.
Yeah.
But Gabby Wendy, I loved.
I mean, she was phenomenal. And Efron.
Oh, Dylan Efron.
Dylan,
yeah.
Yes.
There's always like that kind of like wholesome white guy.
Yeah.
That has abs.
And you need the abs.
You need the abs.
That's really like that's really like really so important. Yeah.
The casting directors are like, take your shirt off.
Yes. And I think that like they were in on it, but not too in on it.
Yeah.
The scariest
Sandoval
people
played it like it was his life. Like he
played it like he was like in the Hunger Games.
Well,
like,
everything's a redemption arc for him. So he's like, it matters.
Yes. It mattered so much to him. I mean, he was going to sweat out of his ass.
When you were that committed, though, it does make fun television.
Yes. I mean, it's he was crazy. He was out of his mind.
So you retire in 2018 from professional.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So then you were talking about as a kid, like you were so in love with this. Is what you want to do every day. This is like how you want to spend your life. What is that feeling like after you do announce retirement? Like, do you have the same passion for being a personality? Do you have the same passion for now doing your podcast, or you wrote your book? Like, how do you replace, even though you're still working in the same circles, and I know you like help people and coach people, but how do you replace that actual love?
Well, I'll be honest that like when you're an athlete, even if you're like, no, like I'm an adult, I do it my own way, like you feel like you have so much control over it and you don't realize how little control and how much structure that you actually had. Like if we decided that like, hey, I'm going to coach you to the next Olympics, I could sit here with the calendar and tell you when you wouldn't be free and when you would be free for the next 4 years. I can find the dates of all those competitions and camps.
So you're saying you're willing to train me for the next 4 years?
I'm saying I actually came here to recruit you.
We're doing something that has never been done on a podcast before. Taking an out-of-shape person, and we're going to see you in the 2030 Olympics.
Yes, I believe it could happen.
You're talking about the structure. You know all of that. And then all of a sudden, there's no structure anymore.
Yeah, there's no... And that's the hardest part of like in this transition into like working full-time in entertainment is that there is no structure because it's like nothing is happening and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, are
everything's
you free
happening at once
for a month to go to Australia for Stars on Mars? You're like, okay.
Yeah, how hard is that to live your life like that?
It can be challenging, but like I think it is the little things of like like the podcast that is a consistent thing that like helps kind of ease the like what's next, what's going on.
I was just wondering, like, do you have, because I imagine when you are training, you have that goal of Olympics. Like that's an easy goal. But when you're doing this, these like best podcast of the year, or like what are in your head, what is the overall goal? Like where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
I think it's one kind of letting go of like what that goal is. Because it's silly to say that like, hey, I want to achieve this in 10 years of like, oh, I want to have this like hit show, right?
Yeah.
Or even if I was like, hey, I want to be like sitting with like Jenna Bush doing the Today Show every morning.
4th hour Today Show.
Right? I think that would be amazing. in 10 years, that show might not even exist.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if I want to go to the Olympics is like a few thousand year institute that like will be there. So you almost have to focus on the big picture of like wanting to stay in this world, focus on things that like you enjoy doing that make you feel like, you're contributing to society, because a lot of times you'll do things that feel a little soul sucking.
Yeah.
But you got to do them every once in a while. But I think that it's been like focusing on like taking on projects that I really want to do. My favorite part about being an athlete was the training. So it's like figuring out like what's the training in this, and it's like getting things together and prepping for a podcast or like prepping to get ready to go and shoot a show.
And are you just as strict with yourself in terms of those opportunities as you were with training for the Olympics?
I'm a bit more flexible nowadays.
I'm loose.
Yeah, I'm a bit more flexible.
Is that freedom exciting?
It's intimidating and exciting, but I really enjoy it. Like,
what is your husband like? Is he like, you got to get back on the ice ever? Like, he's like, you're losing it a little bit. Like, how has that affected your relationship over the years?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that like sometimes I'll get like so sucked into like putting something together that like he's really the one who's like, you should go to the rink, or like you should go to the gym, because like that is such a huge part of who I am.
Your life.
And just like moving and being active. And it's so easy for me to like ADHD, like dive right into like whatever projects and just like sit at my computer for like hours putting things together. And so he's like very good about like, hey, you've been in here for a few days. Maybe you want to take a walk.
Hey, bud.
Yeah. You okay? So he's very good about that, like helping me like stay. And I think for a while, like with the skating, I really wanted to take a step away from it.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I didn't want to be known as a skater anymore. I wanted to be known as like a comedian or a personality so I dove like fully in, and all skating things I said no to. Like I did one like Stars and Ice tour right after the Olympics, and then never did another show after that. And it was like an intentional choice where it was like, I don't want to have like one foot in one thing, one in another. And I think in the last few years, like I've been more comfortable talking about it and, recognizing it as a part of myself that like, yes, I am an Olympian. I went to the
But
Olympics.
I think you can only do that because you're more comfortable with where you're at now. Like, do you actually see that, oh, this is the future. This is now. I actually can survive in this. I actually do thrive in this. And that's what I was saying earlier, is that a lot of Olympians don't. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so interesting to follow you, or why I'm excited to keep following you, or I think the podcast is kind of amazing, because you're like, oh, I kind of get it. I get why you do have a fandom. I get, it's not just Olympics. You are so much more than that. As we start winding down, this has gone way, way too quick.
It truly has.
Are you having a good time?
I'm having the best time ever. Yeah.
When is the last time you were on the ice?
The last time I was on the ice, maybe for fun. I don't know.
Or is it never for fun anymore?
It's hard because it's like even going to the gym where it's like I don't know how to go to the gym to like be healthy. Like I only know how to go where it's like the Olympics are next fucking week. And so it's like hard to find the balance of that. So like for fun, probably not for a while, but like I if I have I have a lot of friends that are skating coaches, and they'll ask me to come into the rink and work with their students. And I really enjoy doing that.
Are you a dick coach? Are you like, come on, pussy? Like, are you like...
you know what? I think that like I'm not afraid to tell the truth. And because I always really appreciated when somebody was just like, that's not good enough.
Are you snarky with the truth, or are you?
I'm kind of just straight up, and I'm like, we can joke about it. Like it wasn't good.
What's the toughest note you ever got?
I think, the toughest note I ever got was like, this was like, I was trying to make the Olympic team the second time. And I was like really sick right before this like trials. And I was getting back on the ice, and there was like 2 weeks left, and it was just like, I had been off of the ice for a while. Like it really wasn't going to go well. And my coach looked at me, we're 2 weeks out. He's like, you're not going to do it. And he was right.
Oh, I thought that you got that note and then it drove you to like, no, I am going to do it.
It drove me to the point of insanity, yes. But you know what? I don't like, maybe that was not the right thing to say.
Yeah.
But he was right. Like there was only a short amount of time to like get ready after I had been like sick for such a long time that maybe not the best mindset.
Anybody you work with, you're like, you're not going to do it.
It's not going to happen.
This is not going to happen. Oh,
But, I think like I've learned from, and I was put in like a really unreal situation where it was like I had a friend of mine who continued to skate for another 4 years, who worked with my coach, who then asked me to like work with her as a coach. And it only worked because she was working with my former coach at full time.
Yeah.
So I was coming in part time, but like we worked really well together. She won a national title. She went to the Olympics. So I had that experience like as a coach. And it is not easy to deal with people who are insane, me being absolutely one of them.
Yeah. Finally, in this week's episode, you were talking about you were kind of expressing like, there's a little bit of unbelievability in how we all use social media and we are so online chronically. And even when you were coming up, everybody was online, but I think it's gotten so extreme nowadays in what people are comfortable with posting, It's like, you're like, I can go through things and I'm comfortable with what I post, but there are people that do it to such an extreme. But you were also sharing experiences of when you kind of stuck your foot in it, like in terms of like your internet usage or things that you did. And there was one story about Taylor Swift specifically, which you were in her music video.
Yes.
Which song was that again?
You Need to Calm Down.
You Need to Calm Down. But can you tell the story? Because I think and by the way, he's going to tell the story, but also make sure you're going to go subscribe to the podcast. You're also going to rate it 5 stars, even though he's like a big wig, Olympian, celebrity.
Nobody's too big wig for 5 stars.
No, for real. Like it's the easiest, freest thing that you can do to support anybody that actually is nice enough to come on this show, but also just to support them. 5 stars, because it places you on like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and people can discover the show. So what is this story?
Okay. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was, in 2018, I was in the Time 100.
Most influential people.
Yes, in the world. I catch on fire. I'm like, don't. Okay.
It was just in Scranton.
Yeah, exactly. So the next year, you get invited, I think, indefinitely if you've like ever been on this list. And I was in New York at the time of like the big event, and Taylor Swift was there, and she like walked up to me, and she's like looking at me, and she's pointing at me, and she's like, "You're the skater," and I was like, "You're the singer." And we had like a quick moment, and she was very nice. And I was like, I really liked her music.
Yeah.
And so eventually, like her team reached out and asked if I would be in this music video. Obviously, my first thought is like, I'm going to be skating in it. And I was like, this is it. But what happened was, so the day of the music video, I got picked up in a black car that drove me to a location where I dropped off my phone and any sort of like recording, whatever.
Yeah.
Then another black car picked me up to drive me to the real location of the video shoot. And there was like helicopters flying around to make sure that there weren't like paparazzi like sneaking shots or whatever. And my experience with Taylor Swift, and anybody who asks, I'll always tell them this, was that it was shocking how like down to earth and kind she was to me and to everybody who was there. Like during and she's directing too. She's also she's doing a lot. She's very busy when she's doing it. But she like welcomed me. She was so grateful that like I was there. Like hello, like who fucking cares? But she was so grateful to me, every single person who was there. And then it's like we all break for lunch and everybody's sitting down, and she kind of grabs a plate of food and she like sits on the floor because everybody's sitting around, and it's like I was so in awe of the way that she treated other people, where it was like, I'll defend her
because
forever.
You've had experiences and I've had experiences where that's not really the case with a lot of celebrities. They can be dicks.
And it's what she was doing that day was a lot. I would not be surprised if she's like, have a great lunch and goes and sits alone in her trailer to get ready for the next like 8 hours of work that she has to do after she's been there already for probably 10. And I was so impressed with the way that she treated. She was so nice to me, but I was so impressed with the way she treated everybody there. Every makeup artist, every person who worked in catering, everybody. And so that's my story of like doing that video with Taylor. And so I had done a few like YouTube videos for Cosmo. And we did one where it was like doing the royal wedding, and it was like a hoot, and they loved it, and I had fun doing it. And they wanted me to do one about like the VMAs and the history of the VMAs. And I said something about like this. Obviously we were talking about when Kanye West rushes the stage.
I'm gonna let you finish, but
right, and we should have stopped him there.
Yeah, exactly.
And that time, right? He's gone on too far. And he says that like she has the greatest music video of all time, and I react to that clip, and I'm like, he's not wrong. Like that
The Single Ladies video is an amazing music video, but also I don't put that much stock in the VMAs anyways, where I'm like, it's good. Like, these are good, but I enjoyed Beyonce's more.
And I think that if you watch this YouTube video, you'd never assume that I'm like, he's not wrong to rush the stage and humiliate a teenage girl. Like, okay. So then I do that. A few years later, they start clipping all of those like clips for TikTok, which is like brand new, right? And so they start clipping it, and it's a short clip. And I mean, I watch it and I'm like, I would never take it that way either. But some of these Swifties it's
their full-time job.
Oh my, Huda is running the military. The Swifties they're like, whatever you say. And they were like, how dare you ever say this? And like, people are like, Taylor just picks the worst friends. I'm like, what are you talking about? And so this all leads to that, I mean, every Instagram post I'd ever posted in my life was like all the rat emojis. I'm like, okay, but so
they're finding every one of your posts. They're leaving comments on it, the whole thing.
Which is, I mean, whatever. It's the internet. But the thing that I was like, I think I need to turn my phone off was somebody on Twitter was like, this is what I think of you. And it was like a grainy shot of, it looked like, from their trailer home or something or whatever, of their toilet that had diarrhea in it. Fresh.
I love that it's a Taylor Swift fan that's like, I will take a picture of this to show Adam.
And I'm like, that's insane that you like took a big old diarrhea dookie and you went, hey, where's my phone?
Yeah, that felt good. I gotta compare this to Adam real quick.
And I'm like, what? Okay. And second, do you think for 1 second, even if Taylor Swift saw this, right, that she'd go, these guys really have my back?
Like, I do sometimes wonder, and I don't come at like if Taylor Swift's ever scared of her fandom, like we've gone too far. Like, I wonder if there's ever any we've gone too far moments, because it's so huge. Like, I went overseas to see the Eras tour, and it was so impressive. But anyways, so I'm glad you got my tweet. That was amazing.
And I loved it, actually.
It was our first interaction.
And your bathroom is a little dirty.
Liz, I told you I don't even really unpack the suitcase. So,
I have not forgotten.
I could talk to you for hours. I hope you'll come back someday.
I would love to.
You are amazing. So I want to just remind people once again, it's Intrusive Thoughts by Adam Rippon. I love the by because it's like I was like Intrusive Thoughts with, but I love the Intrusive Thoughts by Adam Rippon.
Right. I'm there, and they are by me.
And what can we expect besides more intrusive thoughts? And where do you want this to go?
I think it'd be fun to bring people on.
That's what I was wondering if that was ever going to have an interactive, because you do the interactive, because there is a hotline you can call and you can ask Adam questions. You can leave comments. I think it's really, and you've had some good ones so far.
Yeah. And they've run the gamut of like what is of any kind of question or subject.
Yeah.
And they're very fun. But yeah, I think that like I'd love for the podcast to grow. I'd love to like grow that community of people that listen to it. And I'd love to have like guests on and bring them into the Intrusive Thoughts franchise.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, this would be cool to like have a live show one day.
Oh, yeah, completely.
Yeah. No, I think it's excellent. You guys need to subscribe. There's a handful of episodes out right now. I added it to my list, and I was listening to the new one on the car ride over. I really think you're going to dig it. How else do we support? I mean, do you like, what else is coming up for you, or anything else that we can check out?
I'm working on a lot of different things. I turn into Alex Mack Puddle. I slide out of here. But right now I'm like I'm doing the podcast consistently right now, and there's a lot of prep to do before the Milan Olympics. So
what year are we in right now?
2025. They're in February.
Wow. Oh my God.
Yeah. Right. Like, we got to get going.
How do you prep? Did you get everybody's like information? Like, you're studying histories?
So when I work like the games, I work a little bit of like every sport. Obviously, winter is like my gig. Yeah. Like, I know everything about it. I don't need to do really any prep. I know all the backstory. But when you go into an Olympics and you're working every sport, like you need to know like what's happened in the last 4 years, who were your main characters, what happened to them, what's the story of everybody up at the top.
Who are the underdogs? What story do they have?
Just you need a general pulse on like what's happening in every universe.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in the next few months, you're going to have some people have already qualified for the team. For the figure skaters, they don't qualify for that team until 6 weeks out. So it's very last minute, but right now is a good time to like start following some of like the different skiing events or snowboarding events and just get an idea of like who's there, what's going on, so that when you get to Milan, you feel like, okay, I know a little bit of everything. I'm ready to go.
Next time you come back, you got to talk about the Olympic Village. That just popped into my head. I was like, what are the wild stories there? But I'm sure there are. So what are we doing? We're subscribing. We're rating it 5 stars. And if you do that, he says he'll come back. If you don't do that, I'll never talk to him again. So that is on you, America.
Yeah.
Just like the vote on Love Island USA. Adam Rippon, ladies and gentlemen.